Hi, I'm Ailish, and this is my spring open house assignment video. So in the first slide here, I just have the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is based off of the interest and enjoyment in the task itself. So if it contributes to a person's feeling of purpose, their personal growth, if it sparks curiosity, and if they're truly passionate about the tasks that they're completing. For extrinsic motivation, it's based on external rewards and the outcome that will result from doing the task. So this could be promotions, pay raises, bonuses, benefits, possible work perks, etc. So while I was doing the tours at Georgian, some of the intrinsic motivations of the future students that I noticed were passion and genuine interest for the area of study they applied for. So basically learning for learning's sake. I noticed an inner drive to work towards their dream career. There was one individual, she had actually got into the program which she applied for at Georgian, which was practical nursing. And I could just tell how eager and passionate she was about her area of study that she was coming. So that's why she was coming to tour the college. I could just tell by how she was asking questions. She even told me about her past education. She took, I think it was like a prerequisite for the course, so it kind of was based off of medical studies, and she was very passionate and she did very well, and she was excited to take that next step. So some extrinsic motivations that I noticed were striving for better pay in the future to support their lifestyle that they desire. So this is not something that you could pick up on everyone that I did took on a tour. But for a few people I did notice, there was one individual who had let me know that, had shared with me that they had been working in the food industry for a while now, making a minimum wage, and they were looking to increase their education so that they could strive for better pay and support whatever lifestyle that they wanted. So I could tell that that was one of the motivations. A big one I noticed was parental praise, because with almost everyone that I gave a tour, their parents came along, except for the exception of one tour group. So their parents were there and they had just as many questions as the future students that I was taking on the tour. So that was a big one, because I could notice that they were just as involved in this decision, and they wanted to know that where their child was going was a good school. They wanted to know everything before taking the next step with their child. So that falls into also respect from their parents and family, and also close friends. So by going to school, it is kind of not, it's something we always talk about, especially when coming out of high school, oh, where you're going to college, I'm going here. So going to college kind of results in approval from family and close friends. Not always, but it is kind of something that creates that, not acceptance, but it's something that gains respect from family and close friends. So some social motives that I noticed from the groups that I took on tours were they had a need to be affiliated and to be accepted and feel as if they belonged. Many wondered about the social aspects of going to Georgian, such as what clubs and sports teams were available and what types of events were held at Georgian. So this was a big one for the social motives. A lot of the groups that I took on tours were interested in the social aspects of Georgian, and I let them know about the TLC, different open mic nights, trivia nights, and they were all very interested in that aspect of Georgian. And I think it comes from, especially the people who I took on tour who were coming straight out of high school, that they were kind of worried that a big worry for new college students is if they'll make friends, new friends, and feel included. So being affiliated is a big social motive that I noticed. They also had a desire for achievement and to make the next steps at pursuing a career that they wanted. Many future students that I gave the tour were eager, and many had lots of questions for me. I could tell that some students were motivated to get started on completing their Georgian diploma or degree, even though it may be difficult or challenging. So that's one thing I noticed, that they knew what they were getting themselves into. I think going to college is not only to get a good career, but it's to prove something to yourself that you can do it. So the need for achievement was definitely there. The need for power in their future career, the desire to move up in their career and to be in charge someday and to take on a role of authority in their work position. The need for power was not something I noticed with a lot of the people that I took on tours, but there was one individual who I noticed was searching for a more authoritative work position. They were interested in business, and they really seemed to have an inner drive to be an entrepreneur. So that's something I did notice, not in every person that I took on tour, but it was one thing I noticed in one individual. The desire to enhance themselves. Future students may feel if they get a good education, they will become more socially worthy and accomplished in the eyes of others. This is not something you can completely pick up on by taking a group on a tour, but this is just something I noted here that would be a social motive for a lot of new college students. Alright, so I'm just going into my last slide here, which is ways that I feel that Georgian could improve their tours. I thought a good idea would be to have 2 tour guides to one group. And I think this would be especially important if it was for larger groups, not if it was just a parent and their child. I think it would be good for taking people on larger tour groups. So having 2 tour guides will provide 2 different personal experiences for and also varying different opinions. Also, if there was 2 tour guides and if one tour guide drew a blank on what to say about during one of the spots in the tour, the other tour guide could step in and pick up on that. So I think that would be really good, because sometimes you don't know what to say, and it would be good if someone was there to pick up on maybe some things that you missed about mentioning during the tour. Another way to improve would be to have more extensive training. I feel like more training would result in more effective and informative tours. I think it would be a good idea that during training, each individual had an opportunity to run through a practice tour with others who are in training. A run-through would allow the tour guides to get an idea of all the spots on the tour, so that when they give an actual tour, they don't end up getting lost or missing stops. Also, tour guides would have become more comfortable with speaking, so that when it came time to give a real tour, they would spend less time looking down at their sheet. So I think that's a big thing, just having the opportunity to rehearse going on a tour. It would allow you to kind of get an idea of what you would say when you go on a real tour, so that you're not just hiding behind the sheet that gives you all the information on each stop. So I think that would be a good way to improve the tours, because I think they would be more effective and informative, because I think the training was a little too short, and it gave a general overview, but I think there needed to be some practice where the tour guides would have the opportunity to put their skills into action and show what they could do. I think another way to improve was to include a brochure and map. I know there was maps around that you could pick up and brochures throughout the gym, but I think it would be great if before the tour you would just give out a brochure and map to each person who's going on the tour. So I think this would be beneficial, because then whoever you're taking on a tour, they would be able to follow along more easily. They would be able to see where the next stop was and get a little bit more information on the different locations you were stopping at. So I think that would be a great thing to include. And my final slide just has my resources, which was the textbook and a resource for my first photo diagram. And that concludes my presentation. Thanks for listening.